Hey there, welcome to the National Post Speakeasy. I'm Marie Danielle Smith, and this is my colleague Jesse Snyder. We're at the Metropolitan in Ottawa. Jesse, you've been following the Trans Mountain Pipeline since the beginning. The federal government this week announced a backstop in case of political uncertainty in BC. What kind of position does this leave the company Kinder Morgan in?
Well, it was interesting to see how they responded to this, because the government announces this major financial backstop, and the company kind of shrugged it off. It said, we appreciate that, but there's still a lot of problems ahead. So I guess the question now is, is the company going to eventually back away from the project? There's this May 31 deadline. There's some political posturing happening from the company, so you have to wonder how much of this is just them posturing. But Bill Morneau, when he made the statement, he definitely didn't leave room open for another operator to come in. He said, we're sure that there's plenty of other companies who would be happy to take this over. So it's interesting to what extent he's sort of calling the bluff of the company, or whether, say, an Enbridge or a TransCanada or another company would actually come in and buy it up. But this is a very risky project for sure. But I think from the perspective of the federal government, I mean, they had to do something, did they not? That was my sense of it.
Yeah, it seems like they sort of reached their limit on waiting and seeing what the company might do. And at this point, if Kinder Morgan doesn't go ahead, though, they face a huge problem. What might happen if the company decides just to abandon the project altogether?
That's the thing is, I mean, we're not entirely sure who would step in, whether it's going to be some pension funds or even potentially some producers themselves.
And the government doesn't want to own this pipeline itself.
Certainly not. I mean, Alberta had said, Rachel Notley had said that that's a possibility, but I think that was more or less seen as a political mistake. I think she came out a little too soon and suggested that. And you still need, again, a pipeline company to step in and operate the thing. You do need an operator. So that would leave them in a particularly challenging position.
And it's tough for this government, because since the beginning, it's been predicated on this idea of the environment and the economy being totally linked. Right. And the idea that you could have new environmental regulations and make sure a pipeline is constructed safely, and still end up getting major benefits for the economy, even with things like a carbon tax thrown in as well. So this kind of changes the dynamic a bit for the federal government as it heads towards next year's election.
Yeah, I think the carbon tax more or less just rests on this idea of getting pipelines built, right? That was part of the agreement. So I guess we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, thanks very much for joining us this week. We'll see you next time.